And of course he's walking around at random circles, because of course he is. Hi there, music. It's Musical Aviator here, and we are on the ground in, what's this place called? Fitzroy Crossing. I'm going to be flying Jabirus tonight. Jabiru is an aeroplane made in Australia, and we'll be flying it around Australia. And yeah. Nice little seats here to sit down on. I would sit down on them, but this guy is really interested in walking around in circles today, so I'm just going to walk over to the aeroplane while we can, and we'll sit inside the aeroplane and discuss our flight planning. Now, today we're flying a Jabiru, which doesn't even have an altitude indicator in it, so it's a completely VFR aircraft. It does have a GPS, but it's pretty basic, and it does have a few other things, but another thing it doesn't have is a DG heading, so we can't even look at our heading apart from in the GPS system. Walk through this door. Going to go past whoever this is in their fake Cessna 172. Oh, we've got some clouds over there. Hello to the Toilet Inspector, Lachlan, QF Aviator, Aaron, and JB Aviation. Good to see you. Yeah, work's been work. Nice and boring. Let's jump on in. Cool, open your door as well. And we're going to have a look at the flight plan that I've actually created. Done it already. And the main reason I've done this is because the Jabiru is pretty, it's a light aircraft. It's an ultralight aircraft, really. It's another category further light than the Cessna 182 or 172. And I've actually been plotting out some of the navigation log. Mostly because I wasn't sure how much fuel this thing could take. Turns out, a Jabiru has a maximum capacity of 135 litres, which we should get from here. Where was it? Anyway, 135 litres is a maximum fuel that this thing can carry. And if we're sitting at 108 knots, we'll be burning 20 litres of fuel per hour. I'm going to push it a little bit further, do 2800 RPM for the cruise, which is 23.5 tons of 23.5 litres per hour. And we're going to make a little bit of a flight plan where we take off out of Fitzroy Crossing, heading almost due east. First thing we'll do is pass this little crossing here. Now there's this little bend in the river, and just beyond the bend in the river is a little tiny town called Maluja. So we're not going to pass over the town, but we're going to pass a little bit south of town. When we get a beam of Maluja, which I've noted here, we will be 11 nautical miles away from Fitzroy Crossing, by which time we should have climbed to our cruise altitude. So during that segment we'll be pushing out a little bit more than our 2800 RPM. I'm going to probably be sitting at about 3000 RPM, doing 32.1 litres of fuel per hour, but only for the first 11 nautical miles or so. That'll get us up to 5,500 feet, where we'll stay for the rest of the time, and we're probably going to be doing about 75 knots during that climb. So we've got an estimated en route time of 10 minutes, roughly. And we've added an extra 4.4 litres of fuel to that 4.1 that it expected. If we take off with 130 litres of fuel, which is 5 litres less than full, we'll end up with 125.9 plus that. So put our extra bit of climb fuel in there, 4.4 in addition to the already existing 4.1. We'll then reduce our power down to 2800 RPM, and from Muluja Township we'll continue pushing along until we meet this confluence of the two rivers, the Margaret River and the Leon, I think it's called the Leopold River. So at the confluence of the two rivers, that's a further 28 nautical miles from our position just south of Muljuba. That will be at our true speed of about 100 knots, 108 knots I think it was. Yep, I've selected 108 knots. Just open that up a bit. So that should cost us about 18 minutes to fly that, and 6.9 litres of fuel, remaining 119 in the tanks. Looking at this, we're roughly in this sector, so if you look at where we are compared to this, there's Broome, which is south of, Cygnet Bay and all that kind of stuff. So at Cygnet Bay, we're south of there and across by 2, and we're at 5,000 feet. We should be getting a wind of 100 and 10 knots apparently. So we're actually going to adjust that now. It's going to be 100 and 10. We're in that sector for the entire flight. And we are a little bit lower at the beginning, so I'll start the first one at 110. And 6 knots, 7 knots. And on the way back down we'll do the same, which is 110 and 6 knots. Cool. That's adjusted some of this. If Aviator wants to change the default aircraft, so you come up in to your vPilot, you click on settings, click on model matching, and you literally find a model that you want, whatever that might be. So if I wanted you guys to all turn into, I don't know, a Boeing 737 MAX from some airline, I would write that in. FLAi underscore AIA underscore B38M underscore CHH minus Hanan. Go back in here and you type that all there, and that becomes your default model. Today my default model is the Air Cessna 172R. Has to be an exact match, otherwise it won't work. Then you have to log out and relog back in. Cool. So we're looking at the flight plan. We had, what was that? The confluence between the Margaret and the Leonora River, which is about 17 minutes away from the crossing the township. After that, we're going to go to the O'Donnell River crossing. So we need to maintain a heading of almost due eastbound all the way through this until we cross the McDonald River, which is going to be kind of hard to spot. It's about, what's that? Elapsed time 23 minutes. So it's 37 nautical miles till the time that we pass this river here, O'Donnell. As we cross the river, we'll then reset our clocks to 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, we should be about 10 miles out from Halls Creek. We'll make our entries and we'll track straight to it. Fortunately, we do have a GPS, so if anything goes humongously wrong, we can at least fall back on that. But with this, we know that we're going to be using about 23.5 litres of fuel to get where we're going. We will then have an extra amount of fuel here to burn. We're going to chuck in 0.5 litres of handling fuel because I'm not the best pilot. I won't be tracking directly straight all the time. We're going to chuck in a missed approach, which is at our maximum fuel burn. So we're going to open up throttle if we do go missed approach. So we can at least do a missed approach at 32.1 litres per hour. But the missed approach is only going to take, what, 10 to 15 minutes. So chucked in 15 minutes of that, which we take 32.1 divided by 60 times by 15. And holding fuel, which we'll do at the minimum of 18.5, 2600 RPM. And about half an hour of that. So 9.3, which is roughly half, 18.5 rounding up. As you know, 18 divided by 2 is 9. 18.5 divided by 2 is, I guess, 9.25, which I've just rounded up to the nearest decimal point. Approach, we'll assume, is going to be at the minimum fuel, and it's only going to take us, what, 5 minutes? So I've added that there. And a reserve fuel of 17.6, which I got from using a different load sheet to fly from Halls Creek to Margaret River. And Margaret River is a small airfield. It's a dirt airfield, but we see Fitzroy Crossing there and Margaret River down here. So that's 51 nautical miles to get to Margaret River. We'll change the wind again to the current one, just 110 and 8 knots. Just a quick double check of the fuel burn, which will be 20. Our minimum required is 26.0. And we have the ultimate 26.0. So yeah, that's our fuel burn. Our minimum required with that diversion plus all the holding and all of that is only about 1.5 to 2 litres below what we already have. As I said, the aircraft can carry 135. We'll check how much we have when we get into it, which we're out. Into it now. So yeah, that's all planning because the airplane doesn't actually have a GPS unit and it can't keep track of its own fuel. So we have to keep track of it for it. Looking up here, we have pretty much fuel tank. Full tanks. Yep, that needle's showing pretty much full. Give or take a litre or 3. Let's do a walk around. Why is he spinning? No idea. Anyway, as you may remember, this little guy can actually fit under the wing of a Cessna 172, but he certainly cannot fit under the wing of a Jabiru. He'll clonk his face right in about the mouth. If I was walking in under this wing, I'd be about neck level. I can look directly over the wing. Don't even need a ladder to get onto the top of the wing to do the fuel check. And there's of course a little draining point somewhere under here. Lowest point of the tank. Should be close enough to the inner part of here. Somewhere like that. This is the first high wing aircraft you have to bend down and crawl to get under the wing. Up the front. Looking good here. Good there. Up the back. Make sure the trim is actually working. Trim on this aircraft's really weird. We'll jump in and show it off to you guys. Of course, we want to look at the tyres, make sure they're all good. It's got the wheel cowlings on. Parking brake is set. That's the parking brake. We have a throttle right here. Fuel pump. This is a fuel switch. It goes on by pushing it forward, off by pulling it backwards. And this thing here is the trim. And the stick is on the wrong hand. It's over here. So kind of hold your right hand in the stick and left hand on the throttle. And the trim is just underneath the stick. So if you want to grab the trim, you have to grab your other hand over to next to your stick. Or take your stick hand and drop it off the stick and then move this thing. I'm not sure which way I like better. Obviously having control of the aircraft requires that you have your stick on your hand on the stick. You don't always need your hand on the throttle. It's kind of hard to get off the throttle and across the across the way and grab these things. That's the avionics frequency for VOR there. That's your communications radio. This is the transponder. Of course, that little GPS over here. It's a GNS 500, GPS 500, which is a horrifically simple GPS. But it will point in the direction where we're going. As you can see, there's no compass in this aircraft, apart from this wet compass up here. There's no DG heading system, so wet compass, GPS. And I'll probably be referring to the GPS mostly for the compass heading, because the wet compass kind of flops around if you're in turbulence. It's hard to read. Alright, somebody wants to re-look at this again. Click on settings, click on model matching, click the little plus button, click on advanced. Pick one of the options that you have here. You hopefully have an FLAi. My suggestion is to turn off all the things that aren't FLAi, because they're really, really heavy to use. And then pick up whichever aircraft you want to create everybody as. My suggestion is something small, especially today. There's a Piper 28. Make everybody a Piper. FLAi, FSX, PA28. You'd need to write it down. My suggestion is maybe take a notepad so you can copy it. Needs to be exact. Capital F, capital L, capital A, lowercase I, underscore, capital FSX, underscore PA28. That's an exact match. Go back to model matching and then copy and paste that straight into there. Done. And then you have to log out and log back in. The CTAF today, good question. Let's have a look. Fitzroy Crossing, CTAF is 128.7. And that's, I think, the same over at Halls Creek. 126.7. Yep, 126.7, both sides. And I see we have a Melbourne Alice Springs Centre. I'm not sure if they're controlling this far out. Let's have a look. No, I think we're in Brisbane, aren't we? Territory. Yeah, I don't think Melbourne Centre will be controlling us, even if they were controlling this area up at 18,000 feet. Down here at 5,500, they're not, it's an uncontrolled airspace anyway. Our minimum safe altitude is 3,800 feet, 3,700 in the vicinity of Halls Creek past Margaret River Station. Inside the Falls Creek area it's only 2,600 feet, but we do need to start climbing pretty quickly to get into the 3,800 area. If you zoom in here, you'll see that as we cross out of Fitzroy Crossing, head past that little township near the fork in the river, right about there. Which row are we looking at? This one. So there's the fork and the township's in here. There it is. So as we pass the township, everything's nice and fine. We can be at 2,800 feet, minimum safe. But when we hit that point where the river forks, just beyond that is this massive escarpment, massive cliff here. And anything beyond there, 3,800 is the minimum safe. Which is to say that little bit of ground must be 2,800 feet tall, because it gives you 1,000 feet of clearance, minimum safe. Anyway, we almost track that river, but it will shoot off to the south, and we continue on in a straight line eastbound until we pass the O'Donnell, roughly there. Then it's about 20 minutes out to Halls Creek, which isn't right there. Looking at Halls Creek, we've got one big chunky runway, and not sure of the weather. I'll just double check it now. Should have gotten the Napes weather now. Just logging into Napes again, so it's logged me out. Not going to show it while I log in because you might see my password. Don't want to share that around. FTZ and YHLC. Give it for 1 hour. And here we have it. So the wind down here at Fitzroy Crossing is 1007, and over at Halls Creek is 0803. So it's generally eastbound. We'll probably land on runway 04, and we'll take off on runway 01. Which means you have to backtrack after we enter the runway and shoot off in the opposite direction, make a right-hand turn and cross the river. Cool. With all of that done and said, pre-start. Area is clear, seatbelts. Let's get the seatbelts on. I'll go ahead and close this door. Now the setup of the controls that I have, I've got this tiny little throttle control behind my stick, which I'm going to use for this. It's in a really awkward position and keeps on getting caught on my arm. Apparently the real aircraft keeps on getting caught on your knee, so maybe that's quite realistic. Okay, doors closed and locked, seatbelts are secure, fuel valve on, set. Circuit breakers all in. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. One of them controls the flaps, one of them controls the master, avionics, instruments, fuel pump, strobes, auxiliary and the flaps. Not much electronic stuff on this airplane. No headlight, there's no landing light at all on this aircraft. Only have strobes. One on the top, 2 on the wings. There's no paddle lights inside the aircraft at all. The only light you'll get is from the GPS. So this is daytime only aircraft. Okay, all electronic switches are off, throttle completely closed. Done. And we can do master switch. And I'm used to the master being there, but it's not. It's actually in the middle. Good stuff. Master switch. Fuel pump. Click it on. Happy with that. Clicked off. Carburetor heat. Check and off. Cabin heat is off. It has its 30 something degrees out here. Cabin heat off. Mag switches set to both. So that's one switch per magneto here. It's not a key, it's just switch them on. Hilarious aeroplane. Throttle hold closed. If cold, choke is on, but whatever. Check area is clear. And yell clear prop. Clear prop. And engine start. And there it goes. Not too bad. What's our RPM? About 1,000. That's fully idle. 1,000 RPM. Looking happy. Confirming oil pressure. Cool, it's about 2.5. Avionics. Cool, 1200, 26.7. And we'll monitor the guys in the center as well, 131.8. Now this aircraft only has one single radio, and yes, it is a wooden prop. You're correct about that. That prop is indeed made out of wood. Okay, strobe switch on. Good stuff. Pre-takeoff checks. Prop over concrete pad. Brakes on. Cool. Sun ahead temperature in the green. It is. Oil pressure in the green. Pretty much. And we're ready to move. We're just going to taxi out slightly so we're not blasting sand onto the runway when we do a run up. Fitzroy. Traffic, Fitzroy Crossing. I need to get our things in order because I forget our number. Traffic, Fitzroy Crossing, Jabiru 4754 is a Jabiru 160 taxiing to runway 01. We'll call when we're entering the runway. I need to write my number down because I forget it all the time. So it's 4754. Let's go. Thanks for that, Evan. We did leave the token. Let's take that out now. Yeah, taking off the wheel pants. It'll make your aeroplane go slower, but you can carry more stuff. Such as a large, fat person like me. That said, I'm only flying solo today. We've got cameras on board and an empty seat. And you guys. Because this is an RA aeroplane and not a V8 registered aircraft. It just makes it cheaper to register. You don't have to pay $100 a year instead of the full couple of thousand. Gotcha, 5x5.
Thanks. 5x5.
Okay, we've got Halls Creek, 120 nautical miles in that direction. Looking good to me.
Fitzroy Crossing, Jabiru 7090 is also taxiing for runway 01.
Looking for a 1900 RPM. There it is. Drop a mag. And the other mag. Looking good. And carby heat. Yep, that's certainly working.
And Jabiru 4754 is taxiing to runway 11.
Okay, throttle's done, altimeter set. Not quite yet. What was it in this thing? We're showing altimeter 1011. Set. And over in Halls Creek it'll be 1013. Carb heat is off. Doors closed, seatbelt secure, flaps, we don't need any stage. Flight controls and fuel pump. Trim. Okay, the trim should be neutral. And it pretty much is. Flight controls. Hard to see the back. So I'm going to see our own shadow a little bit, but that's not going to happen. Well, I can feel it's moving. All good. Flight controls, fuel pump, and trim. Well, fuel pump will be when we enter the runway. Traffic Fitzroy Crossing, Jabiru 4754, taxiing runway 01 to backtrack. The good thing about taxiing is it doesn't use too much fuel, but we did allocate some fuel for that. It's about 5 litres. And we've actually got enough reserves to come all the way back to Margaret River. Hopefully we don't need to do that, because we may or may not necessarily have permission to land at Margaret River. I'm sure they won't mind if we show up, but, you know. Yes, Jeremy, we are flying in the Death Trap. A couple of years ago, what was it, 2000 and... it was early in the 10s. A bunch of these had engine problems, and unfortunately it turned out that they were having engine problems about 3 times more than your average Lycoming Textron Rotax engine. So they had limitations placed on them. You couldn't fly them at night, you couldn't fly... If you had a passenger, you had to give them a brief that this was an experimental aircraft with problems with engines. They had like massive brief you had to talk to your passenger about. For the most part, they didn't want you flying with a passenger. It's just an instructor and a student. Whether or not those engine failures were actually caused by mechanical problem with the aircraft, or you know, pilots running out of fuel, or people not having done maintenance on them, because they were meant to have maintenance done to the engine once every 200 engine hours or something crazy like that, and there were stories of some of them going like 900 hours without any engine stripped down at all. But yeah, maybe it was a problem with the aircraft, maybe it was a vendetta against the aircraft manufacturer by a specific Australian senator and or head of CASA at the time. We may never know. But there you go. They got the reputation of being a bit of a death trap.
Fitzroy Crossing, Jabiru 7090, holding short runway 1, Fitzroy.
I'm not going to Margaret River, but I'm just holding Margaret River as an alternate in case we need it. But look at the weather. We won't need it. There's 2 runways at Halls Creek anyway. So if we can't land on the main runway, we'll land on the dirt runway. Can't remember the senator. It's a long time ago. And I can't remember if Dickie was in charge of the CASA at the time or not either. Indeed, so the engines seem to run if you actually maintain them, as per the book, instead of going 3 to 4 times as long without maintaining it. Yeah, it was the engine. Jabiru had to fix the problems. They did put in some modifications to their engines. In fact, I've heard of Jabiru's flying with Rotax engines recently. That might be a thing. Now when we do start flying, you'll see that this engine is a little bit different to your average Lycoming that you might find in a Cessna 172. In that it cruises at about 3,000 RPM instead of 25, 24, 23. It's a bit peaky. It sounds a little bit like a Mosquito compared to a Cessna. Traffic Fitzroy Crossing, Jabiru 4754 departing runway 01, right hand crosswind departure. Full power. 60. Get it out on. I'll climb at about 75, 80, somewhere around there. Need a little bit of that trim. Need to back off on the power a little bit. So the engine can only run above 3,200 RPM for 5 minutes, and you need to back it off. So we'll back it off now to about 3,000 RPM and start the climb.
Fitzroy traffic, Jabiru 7090 is entering backtracking runway 01.
Fitzroy Crossing traffic, Jabiru 4754 is turning right crossing. So the time now is 4 minutes past 6. .604.
Traffic, Jabiru 7090, taking up runway 1.
Turning along across the river, and then we'll track along the river heading almost directly eastbound. Currently heading at 120.
4754 is at tracking runway 01.
Cool. So we wanted, what was it, lapse time 10 minutes. Estimated time of arrival after fall is 14. So just use whole minutes. Keeping about 80 knots on the climb, all the way up to 5,500. Now these aircraft do not actually have a mixture lever. The engine just reacts to the actual air that there is, and it changes the mixture based on that, on its own. So there's no lever, there's no control in the cockpit to control your fuel mixture. It just happens automatically.
So traffic, Jabiru 7090 is on a crossing departure, climbing through 1,500 for 3,000. Fitzroy.
Said about 3,000 RPM and 80 knots. We'll just climb a little more than that. If you stay at about 80 knots, we should be about right to cross at time 14. Currently time 06. Everything about the Jabiru is pretty cheap these days, especially now since they put the modifications into the engines. So you're back to a normal 500-ish.
Jabiru 4754 is right crossing runway 01, climbing to 3,000.
There's that little bend in the river, and we should see the little township up here a little bit further. And our clock goes on at the township, and we should accelerate to 103, 108 knots. Hopefully that happens in time 14. Currently time 17. Checking this, we're showing transponder is on and displaying altitude. Yeah, there's nothing really to do after takeoff. Pump is off because it's gravity fed from the wings. No, I don't own a Cessna. That'll be a large amount of money. I own a car. That's expensive enough for me. Drifting slightly to the north, of course. Going to turn back to the east. The heading should be just around eastbound, 090. Now I've noticed that I have a tendency to turn left in this aircraft, I'm going to stick out the 090. Just kind of deal with that. There's the cross point. There's the road that goes out to the town. I can see that now. Still 5 minutes away from town. Still climbing at 80 knots. Still a little bit more power. Going to climb at 3100. $80 knots, 3100 should give us about a 5 to 700 foot per minute climb rate. A little less trim. This aircraft has no autopilot at all, so you just got to keep an eye on all your instruments. Make sure you don't drift off course like I was just before. I think that's the township right about there. No, it's a little bit further beyond. So there's the crossing that Fitzroy is named after. It's like a weir in the river. You can drive over that river on this road as long as it's not flooding. Which it floods quite often, but it's dry season now, so all good. Paul Phibbs's J160 was an all-glass cockpit, which is a lighter aircraft actually, because all of this steam stuff actually weighs more. So yeah, all-glass 160 is probably a better deal as far as weight is concerned, and of course as far as presentation of data as well, because a lot of that will be derived from GPS. You might even have a altitude indicator of sorts. A bit laggy with the GPS, but you know. What's my ATL? Alternate is currently, I can't remember the name of it, but it should be physically visible right there. That is a runway right there. Got it. There's the town. Current time 11. Looks like we're actually running early. So we took off. Did we not pick up the headwind that we're expecting, I think? Interesting. I was expecting, what was it, 11 knot headwind? Seven. I planned for 7 knots, but we didn't get it. Wait a second, we did fly it a little bit quicker at one point in that. So we're going to probably lose that in the next couple of minutes of climb. Nearly at 5,000 already though. Yeah, we leveled out a little bit on the climb and we ended up too fast. Then we pulled the power back and climbed a little bit harder again. So that's where we gained that extra minute. So that little runway out there, we could actually glide into almost a downwind for that one. Kind of weird right downwind. We could fly over the top of it and join a downwind. Not sure I'd do that in a glide. Probably fly straight at it and do a right hand inbound. Altitude. Yeah, altitude will be 5,500. It's currently 5,100 and a bit. We plan to be at 5,500 crossing that town, which is now behind us. Which means we dilly-dallied in our climb a little bit. But we ended up passing the town nearly 2 minutes early. So obviously we haven't been climbing hard enough. That's alright. We'll still actually reach our top of climb at 14 minutes, which is in a couple of seconds. Currently at 13. So I'd call that mission accomplished. And the next thing we want to do is pass this river a second time. Unfortunately the river turns into this weird kind of collection of billabongs that are separated by dry land. Because it's not the dry season and we haven't had the wettest of wet seasons. So it's a bit dry out there. We're going to pull back the RPM down to about 2900. Sit there at 29 for a bit. Leveling off. And a little bit of work on our trim as well. Crossing one hand over to the other side of the cockpit across my body to grab the trim. A little bit annoying. And according to the statistics, this aeroplane should, at some point, settle out at about 103 knots. Drifting off to the south now. And once it sits at 103, we'll bring it back to about, yeah, as I said, 2900. The faster we go, the more the air is pushing the propeller. That makes the propeller spin more, which makes the aircraft go faster, which makes more air go past the propeller, which makes it spin faster. And a faster propeller makes you go faster. You end up with this weird runaway where you could well end up with an overspeed of the engine and of the aircraft at the same time. So as we accelerate, I'm constantly adjusting my RPM back to 2900 and also pushing the stick a little bit forward until I can relieve that pressure with the trim by crossing my throttle hand across my body to adjust the trim. Keep my hand on the stick. This is kind of weird dance of crossing over throttle, RPM, trim, stick, throttle RPM, trim, stick, throttle RPM, trim, stick, speed, throttle RPM, trim, stick, speed, throttle RPM, trim, stick, speed. Alright, that's cool. It's nearly there. I do want to fill out my next section, so I need to be 17 minutes plus 14. So I should be crossing the next waypoint at 31 minutes past the hour. Yeah, you don't want a headwind, otherwise you may well end up going backwards. It's a bit of a slow aircraft, isn't it? 103 knots. Which is pretty atrocious. Even a Cessna 172 can do that better than that. I admit, not much better. Only about another 10 knots on top, but still. 110 knots is better than 103. I'm going to check that chart thing again. 29 is 27, 28, 28. Should be at 28. We're planned at 2800 RPM. We're a little bit bigger than at the moment. Let's pull it back. About there. What's the ground speed? 96. Ground speed 98, yeah, it's about right. It's a little slower, 2 knots slower, but that's back up, 99. We're accelerating. Cool. So we're looking on track now. 101 knots. We're actually going faster than expected. And as expected, our RPM went up because we were going faster. So I'll bring it back down. And we're almost trimmed up. There's a slight movement of the trim there. Muscularity. That's funny. Certainly don't resemble that description. Alright, seems to be pretty stable now. Time is just gone 20 minutes. And we're estimating, which I didn't put in, 31. Now the actual time was about 13. As I go spearing off to the left, right I mean, like in that case, going southbound. And let's check the fuel tanks. About still more than 3/4 on each. As I said, we have plenty of fuel to get there. It's just coming back that's going to be the problem. If for some reason Halls Creek got invaded by aliens or something, we'd divert to Margaret Creek. Hi there, Kip. How you doing? Flying a pretty simple machine today. So in about 10 minutes we should expect to see the river cross our path again, and it'll split into half. One half will go parallel to us and the other one will go off north, and there should be a nice pretty sheer cliff face. Not too tall, maybe 200 foot of cliff, but yeah. Fuel burn should be going pretty good, and we need to climb again. We're at 95 knots. Expecting 98, but we are climbing, so that'll be where that extra time went. It keeps on spearing off slightly to the right. I'm just wondering if I need to do something with our rudders. Probably do. See, there's no rudder trim in this aircraft, so I'm just going to hold the rudder a little bit to keep that ball in the middle. Hopefully that'll prevent us from banking off to the right all the time. A little bit of P factor there. Slightly overcorrected left here, haven't I? I'll relax that rudder, let it kind of peel off again. That's enough climbing. Pushing it back down, trim that up. The rest of the Jabiru club must be pushing their engines up to about 3000 RPM. We're quite happy here at 28. No need to rush. Not a bad way to fly, but it wasn't a little bit quicker. I could do with 120, 150 knots. With an autopilot of some sort. Take your hands off a stick in the yoke for more than 2 minutes at a time.
Hey Chen, is that the meteorite crater over Spa, right?
No, not that one. That's way far to the south. That's south of Halls Creek.
Oh, righto.
Not even sure we'll be doing it today. Depends how hungry we get on the way to Halls Creek.
Yeah.
I've made the flight plan for it so we can jump into it as soon as we need to, but we'll see how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, who's enjoying the weird aeroplane that we're flying today? Enough for you? Too simple? You can see the link to the aircraft below, and it is in fact free. At the moment. May not stay free, but at the moment it is. Way too simple. Doesn't even have an altitude indicator on this aeroplane. That's hilarious. Where's the FMS? Yeah. Time is 26. We have exactly 5 minutes until we cross the river. As I said, the river might be dry. In fact, that's the river right there. River. Oh, there's some water. Look at that. I am starting to see the landmarks I'm expecting. There's the river that peels off to the north. That's the Leopold River. And that's the river that will be paralleling, the Margaret River. So I've identified and spotted the confluence of the two rivers right there. Should be passing that escarpment in 5 minutes. The escarpment is here, running right across, and the Margaret River kind of goes into this shallow gorge. It's not really a gorge, but it's almost a gorge. I've lost nearly 500 feet again. Let's climb it. Now coming up for the climb. Any crocs in these rivers? It's a river in Northern Australia, of course there are. Crocs and rivers kind of go hand in hand. Not sure if we're still in salt water land. I think not. I think this would be fresh water. So it's probably freshwater crocodiles, if any.
I've been flying this whole time with my mags off.
At least you can't be flying this whole time with your gear down on these aircraft. I guess technically we are, but you can't not.
Oh well.
Time 29. There's the river. 2 minutes and we should be across it.
Are you okay? It looks like your plane's doing a barrel roll.
Just ignore that. Ignore that.
Yep, it's a thing I've seen before. It's a thing I've done before. It's like, why won't the aeroplane climb faster than it is? And then you look outside, the landing gear's down still. That's why. Never mind. Yes, I do recommend Activesky, but then again, I've been a customer for Activesky since about the year 2004. So yeah, Activesky to me is a wonderful product. Never tried Rex, never felt the need to. There's the river, I can see it, we're almost over it, 1 minute to go. We're pretty much directly on time now. If only I could manage my altitude with this stupid trim. Macca's reopens next week, yay! More bacon and egg muffins. Ours never closed, and I'm so glad. And they've been selling a carton of dozen eggs at McDonald's, so you don't need to go to the supermarket to get eggs. You just go through the McDonald's drive-thru at breakfast time, so before 10:30 AM, and you can buy a dozen eggs. And it's 31 minutes. There's the river, exactly as predicted. Isn't that cool? We have oversped the engine a little bit. Let's drop that back to where it should be. A bit more rudder. Yeah, you can, at the moment, during this coronavirus thing, in Australia, at least in Melbourne, drive through a McDonald's drive-through at breakfast time, so between 6 AM and 10:30 AM, and you can literally go there and ask for a carton of a dozen eggs, and they'll give you a carton of a dozen eggs from McDonald's drive-through. Raw, straight up, like you'd normally buy from the supermarket, dozen eggs. They'll only give you one, but yeah, dozen eggs from Macca's. Let's have a look at our flight log. Time was 31 as we crossed. The next one is 23 minutes out, so 31 minutes plus 23 equals 54.
Free range eggs.
Probably not free range eggs, but whatever. Probably not. Probably the cheapest eggs that they can get their hands on, whatever that is. But still, they are eggs. How much do the eggs cost? I don't know, actually. I did buy them, I forgot. As I bought like an actual muffin and the eggs because I saw them. So eggs, cool, I'll get them. There's the card. They're not taking cash at the moment, they're just taking credit cards through the swiping machine thing. Which makes sense, they don't want to handle your Germany cash. If you go down into the description below, you can see the navigation log I've been using. Now this automatically calculates all of the red lines. So fuel is automatically calculated for you, you don't have to do it yourself, which is wonderful. As you can see, so far we've been pretty accurate with our timing. 31 was the last one. Next one should be 54. All we have to do is keep on tracking it on, and this river should eventually curve its way up and pass us heading northbound. When that happens, 54 minutes. Yes, you should procrastinate less. You can see the countdown timer. So make your homework finish before I start. I will usually be around 6:30 PM when I stream. Of course, during this strange period of time, I've been doing it a little earlier because I don't need to catch a train home. Let's finish work at 3:30 and go, let's think about what I'm doing for the flight today. Cool. Trim seems to be settling a little bit. I do have a little bit of right rudder in on the pedal. Probably not enough. Flying handoff stick at the moment. I'm using my stick hand to adjust the trim. Yeah, maybe not.
Hurry up
37.
on the back of the lap, bro.
What's that ground speed doing? 95. Should add another 2 knots on it.
Have you got your flaps out, or is that just my screen?
Oh, he
Yeah, I had flaps, but I'm
randomly
back up
climbed.
to 90 knots now.
Let's go back down.
Yeah, okay.
Need some down trim now. Maybe not that much. speed, RPM. Anzac Parade. I'm going to the Anzac Parade of my own house. Without the virus, I would have been going off to Sydney tomorrow night. Probably on Virgin Australia. Now, none of those things are happening. Actually, I would have been on Tiger OS. And to be fair, I would have seen the Tiger OS price and gone, yeah, let's get that. That would have been fun. So, if that had been the case, I would have caught the bus instead of the driven my... Actually, no, I would have driven the car to the station so that my car was at the train station for the weekend. Maybe? No, maybe not. It's an entire week. I think I would have probably caught my bus to my train station. Actually, I can't catch the bus at the moment because the bus is shut down. Yeah, it would have been open. So without the virus, I would have caught the bus to the train station, caught the train to work, worked until 3 tomorrow afternoon, and then instead of coming home I would have jumped onto the Sky bus, which would have taken me to Melbourne Airport, where I would have gotten on a Tiger Airways aeroplane, flown to Sydney, taken the day off work on Friday, gone and watched the Sydney Symphony Orchestra play Shostakovich's 5th Symphony. After that, actually, before we went to the Shostakovich, I would have met up with Arjun and Christine, 2 friends of mine in Sydney. Would have had dinner. The 2 friends would have met each other for the first time. Go to the symphony. First, we would have watched some overture that I don't care about. Second thing we would have watched is the Haydn Trumpet Concerto, played by Hakan Hartenberger, one of Germany's best trumpeters. He's not German, he's like Finnish or something weird. And then after that, we would have watched Shostakovich's 5th Symphony. After that, we'd have gone home. Right, Sydney home, mum's home. Woken up very early the next morning, about 4:30 in the morning, and gone off to the Anzac Day Parade in Sydney City, in person. Would have caught up with 2 friends of mine that played trombone in various marching bands. Would have seen them marching and playing trombone, and probably met up with them at a establishment designed for drinking sometime around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That would have been my Saturday. Sunday, yeah, I had something for Sunday, didn't I? Can't remember the Sunday plan. Anyway, there was something every day up until Monday. Monday I went down to Nowra to visit the Airbus A330 simulator for World Flight. I met them for the first time this weekend. We would have flown, we possibly would have flown this Anzac Day event in the A330 sim. And on Monday for Milk Run Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday I was having off, so I was essentially just staying in at Mum's house for 2 days, helping out Mum around the house and doing some stuff for her. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I was meeting someone in Hornsby for some kind of food festival thing. Friday, we were heading down to Wings over Illawarra to do the setup for the Flight Simulators convention. And would have been there on Saturday and Sunday. And then Monday would have been flying back home to Melbourne. And I am pretty annoyed that none of that is happening. And that's another thing. Adrian was going to see if we could fly the hotel tanker mic around for an hour or so. That's what I was doing on that missing day when I was saying, what am I doing on that Sunday? I can't remember. I was flying with Arjun, that's what I was doing. So yeah, we would have been flying the old hotel tanker mic around Sydney Harbour circuits or something. Assuming the weather was okay. It'd be interesting to look up the weather, see if it was going to be okay. What's Sydney forecast doing right now? Sydney forecast, Saturday, 25 degrees and sunny. Yeah, that would have gone really well actually. Find the old Piper Archer on the Sunday. Okay, double check in, we had time 54. Less than 10 minutes away, and I think I can see the river starting to bend up towards the north. A little bit too far south, we should be crossing about there. Track 89. Heading should be, yeah, it's about that. Hard to see the heading on this thing. We have turned slightly, kept on turning to the south ever so slightly. So we need to head on a little bit further north again. What was the wind doing? I'll check that grid point. Yes, that one, wind is 100, so it's ever so slightly from the right. So I have been tending off towards the right, so obviously overcompensated a little bit there. That's all right. Don't have a attitude indicator, so we can't really tell exactly if we're turning off. We just look out the window and mark a point outside and make sure we're not drifting off it. If you are, you turn wings more level. Aircraft settling a little bit. I think we're getting an updraft of some sort. Kind of increased in speed without us adding any power or descending. .54. And the next one is 20 minutes. So 14. That's assuming we cross this one. I shouldn't have written that in yet. I think it'll be just about right. Where's the split? There's the split. Nice little gorge here. About that big massive turn back as it kind of sharp turn to the right and then sharp turn to the left again and then shoots off to the north. So that is our waypoint for 1 minute time. Yeah, we're still heading pretty much eastbound. I haven't drifted off too much. All good. Have a nice dinner. Tell us what it is. Time 51. Right there. Set 54 though. A little bit quick. I think we're about 2 minutes fast. Yeah, I've identified where the river heads northbound and we're continuing on east. That's the crossing of what I've identified as the O'Donnell River. Pretty sad state of a river. There's two little ponds of water that are left over and here's the dry riverbed snaking its way out. So yeah, that's what we call a river in Australia. A collection of wet water holes and dry mud. Thanks for that, Kip. Yeah, did a couple of good landings in the triple most recently. That fly-by-wire on the triple certainly helps. Easy to control with the new yoke as well, rather than this stick. This stick is it's nearly 20. It's about 20 years old. This stick. When did I buy it? It'll be in at least 04. So the next one will be at time 14, although we might be 2 minutes early. So it's going to be time 12, 10 miles out from Halls Creek. We'll give them a call. Showing 95. We are slipping ever so much further south. Another course correction. Quick squeeze at these fuel tanks are going about 3/4. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. How much fuel did we expect to have here? 110 litres. Okay, cool. Hi there, Tim. How you doing? The old centre for a little bit. Make a call inbound to Halls Creek on the sea south once we about 10 miles out. It should be 12 minutes past, according to my current track. GPS says we're about 37 miles out. So we could land in Halls Creek and then head on down towards Balgo Hill. About halfway between Halls Creek and Balgo Hill there's a large impact crater, which we might do tonight. Looking at the time, we should get in here at about 7. We should be airborne by, say 7:30, maybe 7:45. So this aircraft's a little bit more tiring to fly since you can't fly it hands off for any length of time. That's a lot of, you know, on-hand stuff. The Jabiru, don't know what its normal price is, but it is free right now. So if you buy it right now, you'll buy it for $0 on special. Next GA stream, I'm hoping to be on Friday. Depending on how we feel about continuing, it'll either be the next leg of the Jabiru, or it'll be the massively quick leg in the Legacy at 220 knots. Because it will have 530 nautical miles to cover, which won't be much fun. "500 nautical miles of that." Depending on which flight it is, if it's the continuation of this one, it'll probably be about 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock. And if it's the other one, it might have to go early because it'll be a massively long flight. 4:30 is early, 5 o'clock's early, somewhere in that range. Long haul this week will be the Auckland to Sydney. Not sure what in yet. Options being the 777 or the 73. Possibly in the bus 320. Probably in New Zealand if it's a triple. And if it's a 73, it might be Virgin. As in Velocity Virgin Australia. Squares, 914. Cool, once we get into Horse Creek, we do need to fill up the aeroplane regardless of if we're going down to Horse Creek or not. Not necessarily because we don't have enough fuel to get to Balgo Hill, but because there's not necessarily fuel at Balgo Hill. So, if we do go down to Balgo Hill, we'll need to carry enough fuel for the aircraft to be ferried back by someone else to Horse Creek, wherever they happen to be going. Just a reminder of what we look like. $270,000 jobs in Melbourne. Well, that sucks. The new Great Depression. Great. Just what we need. So I love this little document with your checklist. literally has bumfish. For some reason they put an I at the end instead of between the F and the H. Don't know why. But yeah, it's bumfish with a double F. Nice one, Lachlan. Nice one indeed. Less than 10 minutes out from our call. RIP having jobs. We enjoyed it. Not really. But at least money created things like aeroplanes. Indeed, Tim. I think we'll push on. Creator flight should finish by 9:30 at my estimate, if we turn around nice and quick. Three-quarter tanks. Welcome back to it. I'm assuming you're away. Osaka. That's another bad little meal. It's almost like a lasagna, but you know, Greek instead of Italian. That's what it reminds me of anyway. Like a big Greek pie. Yeah, I haven't eaten a proper dinner. I had like a lunch and a half. Might do a Macca's run after this. We're sitting on what is it? 126.7. There we are. $15 miles, current time 10, and I said 12. Should be just on time. Traffic, Halls Creek, Jabiru 4754 is 5,500. We're 15 miles to the west of Halls Creek, inbound runway 10. Estimate circuit time at current time 16. Circuit time at 19. Halls Creek traffic. Should have sorted that one out before I went out. So 6 minutes plus 12. It's actually 12. Well, 19 is not too bad. It's 18. But if you slow down during the descent, it'll be 19. A good guess. They're ready. Yeah, I find the 160 and the 170. That's alright. 160 is fun. 170's just got longer wings. Not much difference otherwise. Maybe some details in the panel. Okay, runway 04. It's an easterly thing, so I'll probably join in from the crosswind. The the base. Straight in join on the base. That works. We're coming in almost directly from the left there. So as long as we aim at the middle of the runway, we can turn into the base on a right hand turn. Don't know how we gained 20 knots, but there you go. Aaron, you saw some of the pilot math just then. So I've been talking about time and fuel and estimates and stuff. That's the kind of maths that you do as a pilot. All this stuff. Filling in times. At single digit miles. Start our descent now. Trimming it up. Current time is 14. We're expecting circuit time at 18. 4 minutes. So if we do 1,000 feet a minute, we'll lose 4,000 feet. That makes sense. I think I've got it in the side over there. Yep, right ahead. That's a pretty sight to see an airport appear right in front of you. A little bit of help from the GPS, pointing us in the right direction, but yeah. Oh, I suck at maths. I can't do like simple head calculations. I can grasp larger concepts, If you want me to do some details, then that's what that is for. That's me calculating a flip over the hour, so it was like something plus something equals 74, but then flip the hours into minutes. 74 minus 60 equals the correct amount of minutes. Head math. Traffic Halls Creek, Jabiru 4754 is 5 miles to the west of the field. Descending through 3,000 feet, we'll be joining on a left-hand base. Traffic Halls Creek.
Wait, I just realized I've been using a call sign for the whole flight.
Haha. 4754.
Whoopsies.
Lachlan Boyd, you know I want to answer that question, don't you? An arrow to the... as per the tapestry. Traffic Halls Creek, Jabiru 4754 is base runway 04. Yep, looking good. We'll drop it down to 80 knots. Brakes are released, undercarriage is down. Mix fully rich. Pump is on. Sat on. Fuel, seats and houses are secure. Pretty well idle power. First stage of flap. Let's move that roll. All the flaps. Traffic Halls Creek, Jabiru 4754, final runway 04. Here's where the trim becomes tricky. Gotta keep moving my hand across the cockpit. Welcome to 63 knots.
And Jabiru 805 to correct one this time. We'll be turning left base runway 04.
Time 19 right now. That was an 81 there.
Creek traffic, Jabiru 8052 is left base, runway 04.
Yeah, they go all the way up there in the rain and turn off. Flaps up. On the brakes. Traffic Halls Creek, Jabiru 4754 has vacated runway 04.
And Jabiru 8052 is turning final runway 04.
Fuel's over there. Let's go over there. Dang, that's not where the fuel is. So you can see on the OSA. Air BP, avgas 24 hours, surf with Air BP card only. Yep, that's fine. So where is this Air BP thing? Surely it's not on the flight line. Did they not put it in the scenery? I swore it was right there, next to the big fuel buzzer. Right? No?
Traffic Jabiru 7090 is 5 nautical miles inbound from the east. We'll make a dead side and join the circuit on runway, whichever one's active. Horse Creek.
Have a bear 04.
04 is it?
Yep.
Hey, fun.
Thanks.
Assuming it's actually not there because that's like a plaque memorial thing.
And Halls Creek traffic, Jabiru 8052 is clear of all runway.
It's up in that corner. Yeah, that truck. Under that massive tree? Probably not. Surely it's next to this thing over here. There's a call out fee for the truck. We can do that. That big yellow bin looks like it's a recycle bin. What? What's a recycle bin doing here? I'm gonna get up close to that tree, see what's up there. Some random shed. It's there. That truck is seriously parked right in the middle of the Air BP. You can't put avgas in your truck, man. Alright. Get as close as we can.
All-seat traffic, Jabiru 7090 in the overhead will join mid-downwind for runway 04, Halls Creek.
Right about there. Cool. And we'll shut it down. Some people park in the middle of... No comment. Alright, let's go and refuel this airplane. Pull the lock down, push it open, off we go. Okay, we're pretty much ready. I just couldn't believe that someone would park their truck right in front of the fuel bowser. Okay. Alright. Card goes in there. The card unlocks when you put the numbers in. Basically now you can pump as much fuel as you want, and then you swipe your card again to close the pump. Now, if you forget to swipe your card a second time, the pump is still active and anybody else can come along and fill up using your card. So remember to always swipe off. Oh, this dude, probably wants to fill as well. Let's open the cap. Doo-doo-doo. No click spots from the outside, that's cool. So the first thing you need to do is pull out the, not the hose reel, but this should be next to here a static line. You pull that out to the aircraft, yada 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 yada. Go ahead and click that to a metal part of the aircraft, which is usually the engine, and there is an exhaust right there underneath. Clip it on there. And then we pull out the old hose reel. Walk it out to the aeroplane. And as I said, this aeroplane's about up to here on me, so I can just, don't even need a ladder for this bit. It's even got a little stick there right next to the... let's not walk inside our head. Like that. Again. Oh, he's doing circles now. So, we'll assume that we've done that. Then you walk around the front of the aircraft, pulling the hose out to make sure it doesn't go underneath the propeller. Same thing with this. Go ahead and put some fuel in. Do the tanks up. Pull the hose back. No, it's going to walk around it forever. Yeah, there we go. There's a little button there to push that'll roll the hose back in, much like a, you know, vacuum cleaner. Swipe the card again, that'll stop the pump and charge your money. Just jump back in. Options, where's the fueling thing? Instrument panel, fueling panel, there we are. So, litres. It's about 60, 65, wasn't it, each? I'm by myself, but I certainly weigh more than that. Let's go for 60 litres each. Let's go as we. Let's head on out. The Cessnas with their tails in the air, that's hilarious. Let's go ahead and turn on the main pump. Strobes are on, avionics are on. We just want to get out of these guys' way so they can do their refueling. That comes on pretty well. Jefferson Creek, Jabiru 4754, departing the fueling buzzer. We'll be heading out towards the runway for some runs. Okay, we'll come to a stop here, out of the way of those guys, if they want to use those fuel buzzers. Shut it down again. And we'll have to do a fuel drain and a couple of other things before we move out, finally. What we'll do is drop the flaps. Cool. And we jump again. Make sure I've actually got that shut down. Alright then, fuel drain. Someone's slowing. Checking those flat trucks. Checking that trim. More flap tracks. Quick squeeze over the top, make sure that the fuel caps are nice and tight. Same thing again. Cool. I'm pretty much happy with that. Let's get back in, see how we're going for the next flight. So, flight number 2. Halls Creek to Balgo Hill via Wolf Creek Crater. We're going Halls Creek until Tenali Road, which is 19 nautical miles, takes 16 minutes. And we'll be climbing during that up to 5,500 from Tenali Road up to the road track. There's a crossing. That'll take 12 minutes, then 7 minutes into Wolf Creek Crater. Once we get to Wolf Creek Crater, however, I do intend to do a little bit of holding. So I've added extra holding fuel, which is 5.0, which will be about 15 minutes at the lowest setting, which is going to be, what was it, 2,000 something or other? 2,600. So 2,600 is the lowest setting. So I'll be flying around the Wolf Creek Crater for 15 minutes at the slowest speed possible. Then we'll increase our speed again and climb again. Well, this looks to be good. And it suggests that our heading should be 163 magnetic. And track is 178. Now I just realised that I've actually estimated this in magnetic. It's already converted for that. So it's variation 0. So heading is 166 to start with and 170 all the way through till we hit the Wolf Creek Crater, and then it's more eastbound after that. That should be okay. Now on the GPS I'm just going to put a straight line straight down into Balgo Hill because it doesn't have any of these other pseudo waypoints that were chucked in. Time. Just do a quick calculation on time here. "68 minutes. So it's about an hour and a bit. We should be able to get in there by 8:50, 9 o'clock. Call it 9 o'clock because they're going to do that circle at Wolf Creek Crater. That should be good. Aaron, have a look at the screen right now and ask yourself, how can you convince your parents that flying sim is educational? Just think about it while you're looking at the screen right now. How would you do that? Anyway, we are going to be running at 113 knots, which gives us a 23.5 litre per hour consumption, which I've chucked in here, 23.5. We currently have 130. Thank you, Toilet Inspector. You have given me $10. We have 130 litres of fuel on board, and we'd need to come back all the way to Halls Creek if we were to divert. To be honest, we're not going to divert, but just in case we did, 24. And that looks to be fine. Now if we did have to divert, we'd fly it back at 108 knots with 270, which would give us that 20 litre fuel consumption. Toilet power, very much. Cool. So the fuel remaining on arrival will be about 100 litres if we were to fly straight through. Of course we're not, it's going to be less than that by 5, so it'll give us about 90, still about 3/4 of fuel. That gives us enough. Yeah, we could actually offload, so that's fine. So Balgo Hill, I believe, is Yankee Bravo Golf Oscar BGO. I'll double check it on the chart. Oh yeah, that's alright, this thing doesn't have those. Yep, it is Yankee Bravo Golf Oscar. Right there. 14,000 feet above sea level with a 1,600 meter long runway. We're in this section, which is a wind from 100 at 10 knots at 5,000 feet. And we'll chuck that in all the way down. The last one will be 110 at 6. That's looking okay. Okay, set heading should be 171 for 16 minutes, and we'll look at the ETA once we're airborne. Let's go. Yankee Bravo Golf Oscar Balgo Hill, not Galbo Hill. Yeah. So, runway 04. And I'm going to stick in our Balgo Hill into the GPS once we start up. Let's do it now. Master is on, fuel pump is off. Mags are on. Avionics. Let's grab a direct 2. Balgo Hill, Yankee Bravo, Golf Oscar. That's a direct and activate. 116 nautical miles to go. Let's start. Fuel is on. Pump. And the strobes. Pump off. Looking around. Clear prop. Doesn't struggle like the air-to-airs, which I feel is perhaps not realistic. That engine should struggle a little bit more than that to start. Anyhow, it's going. And transponder is set to run. 200. Let's roll. Traffic Halls Creek, Jabiru 4754 is departing runway 04, taxiing towards runway, and we'll call 13 answer for the backtrack. These aircraft are so easy, it's just gravity fed from the wings down through this, literally there. There's the fuel. If you cut into there, there'll be a bunch of fuel in there gushing out. So, yeah, fuel lines are gravity. Yeah, that's right, the auto mixture. Quite fun. Tweaking a mixture handle is also quite fun of its own accord. We'll need to do a run up here. Should have done it before we did that, but flaps coming up. Let's do the run up. $1,900. Looking good. Let's drop a mag. Looking good. Let's drop the other mag. Also looking good. Let's pop in some carby heat. Yep. And yep. Idle.
Radio check.
Ready and five. Traffic calls Creek Jabiru 4754 entering runway 04 to backtrack. Didn't even need choke for that start. Just went like, let's press the button. Boom! On it went. Engine was spinning. I've had Cessnas where it was like crank, 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 off it goes. Right, this will be a left-hand downwind turn. We'll join back in from overhead the airfield where we'll start our timer. Hopefully by then we will have climbed a little bit.
Falls Creek traffic, Starhawk Bravo Silver Alpha, taxing for 04, Falls Creek.
Jabiru 4754 on the backtrack, runway 04. Okay, this is a massive runway. Will be flaps up for the takeoff.
Radio check.
85.
Thanks.
Almost border backtracking, and we're probably going to get airborne before the intersection of the runways already. Might spin it around now. Now I've come this far, I'll usually turn out bay. Cross it diagonally, straight in and around. Lachlan, answer the good question, get a license, easy. Traffic Halls Creek, Jabiru 4754, departing runway 04, left hand downwind. Hey, we had a 997, good to see that. Up we go. Time is 52. We don't start our clock yet though. Traffic Halls Creek, Jabiru 4754, turning crosswind.
Halls Creek traffic, Skyhawk, Bravo Zero Alpha, entering and backtracking. 04 Halls Creek.
Back it off down to about 32, 3100. About the only thing crazier than flying this aeroplane would be flying a Foxbat. Painted bright yellow, as all Foxbats are.
Halls Creek traffic, Skyhawk, Bravo Zero Alpha is rolling. Runway 04 for our left hand departure. Halls Creek.
Pass over the back end of the runway and head up onto our heading. Halls Creek traffic, Jabiru 4754, 2500, passing overhead field, midfield, and then heading down southwards towards Balgo Hill.
Halls Creek traffic, Jazz, I forgot what the plane's called.
Yeah, we were. Well, it's a be over 18 or something.
8052 backtracking runway 04.
If we flew down to out of some other airport that wasn't, you know, Point Cook, then we wouldn't need that over 18 and or Guardian. Well, you probably would, but whatever. Maybe we should fly to, I don't know, someone nearby to pick him up. That said, Essendon's not cheap.
Skyhawk, Bravo Zero Alpha, downwind.
Time currently 55, as I expected. 5.5. Passed it a little bit too much, but that's alright. Only about 30 seconds. Let's stick it in.
At Halls Creek traffic, Jabiru 8052, taking off runway 04.
Oh wait, that's ATA 5.
Halls Creek traffic, Skyhawk, Bravo Zero Alpha is departing upwind for a southerly departure, climbing through 2,500 for 4,000, Skyhawk, Bravo Zero Alpha.
Sorry about that. We're doing some math with our cough mic on. Anyway, we have current. We left Halls Creek at time 55. It'll take us 16 minutes to get down to Tanami Road. And I've calculated that 11 minutes. So time ETA will be 11. And we need to be on a heading of 171. Continue to climb up to 5,500 at about 75 knots, give or take. This little Excel sheet is something that you will need to learn. You need it to pass your PPL. You may never use it again. Certainly not for this kind of, well, for this kind of flying I'm doing it mostly because the Jabiru has got nothing in it. It's got this kind of wanky little GPS 500, which is a portable plug-in. You can pull it out of the airplane GPS. You can stick it in your car and turn it into a road driving GPS if you wanted to. So that is the only thing keeping us alive apart from math. If you're flying a better airplane, probably we wouldn't really, you know, you'd want to do that just to see where your fuel is going to be, but apart from that, stick it on LNAV. But yeah, to actually pass the PPL, you need to know how to fill these things out. I'm extremely excessively rusty because I last filled one of them out in anger back in 2003. So I had to watch some YouTube videos and read some stuff over the last couple of days to make sure I still kind of knew how to do that. Helicopters are expensive, man. They're like ridiculously expensive. We're flying too far to the east. Need to go further west. About there. That's too far west. I think we're okay where we were before. Got a bit of crosswind at the moment, 10 knots off to the left. So this thing's suggesting heading of 171, 173. That's all to do with that headwind, that crosswind. Sorry. So it'd actually be on a track of 178. Based on that wind, and the wind was pretty much right. We saw it when we were coming over, that the grid wind for 5,500 was within maybe 2 minutes of being correct. In fact, I guessed the time, and it turned out to be we were like directly on short final. So yep, 19 minutes. I'd say we're pretty much right with that forecast. Here comes the weird balancing act where we pull back the power down to, what was it, 2800. By reducing the power, it slows down the aircraft, which makes the power reduce more, slows it down more, and you end up with a runaway slowdown The only thing stopping it is the trim, which I'm currently adjusting, trying to maintain a level altitude. 997, I don't think you've flown a Jabiru, have you? You're more into real aeroplanes with a V8 registration, aren't you? Macca's for dinner? Probably. There is a pizza store open until 10:30, I might go for that. If we miss the 10:30 cutoff, then that's going to be Macca's, because they're the last thing open until midnight. In fact, they're open 24 hours down at my place. But with any luck, we'll get out of here before 10 o'clock and we can get a pizza. Foxtrot Yankee Charlie, how are you doing? So, using this, we'll be able to tell when we get up to the Wolf Creek crater. Checking this 11. So I was reading a lot about this Wolf Creek crater. It's apparently the second largest impact crater site on Earth, right behind the one in America. For a while there, they were estimating that it was about 300,000 years old, but updated evidence has discovered glassation of the probable actual meteorite itself, dated at 100,000 years old. So I've got a 100,000 year old massive crater in Earth, second largest crater on Earth, currently still visible as an impact crater site. Okay, there have been other impact craters that have been bigger, such as the one that wiped out the dinosaurs, but that didn't turn into an obvious impact crater. That's turned into a part of, under the water in the Gulf of Mexico. So this is actually a solid, obvious... Oh, you guys are talking about what? Extra lovers, meat lovers? Yep. Ava's never flown a Jabi. Probably a good choice. Oh, yep, Scotty, I remember him. Probably nothing for dessert. If anything, there'll be some fruit, which I already have in my fridge. Get back to 5,000 feet. I keep on doing this, I'll lose. Just for reference to the new people, ABAD997 amongst them, the trim system on this is this little lever. There's no buttons, you just pull on the lever and the trim moves up and down. And the lever is on the same hand as your stick, which is this thing here. So I'm guessing you're pulling out your hand off the throttle and crossing it over your body to grab the thing right down there next to your knee. Oh, it passed 5,000 on descent. Let's bring it back up again. Back to 3,000. So we've got 3,000 RPM on this engine. It'll actually go up to 3,400. You can stay there for 5 minutes. Six minutes in. Falling too far inland again. We do need to go that direction slightly, and we won't see the Army track until 11 minutes into the flight. Well, at 11:00. No, it's a 4-stroke engine. It is a 4. Yeah, I've been reading a little bit about the Jabiru since I downloaded it on Monday. Is it Monday? Yeah, I think it was Monday. Might have been yesterday. But yeah, they've got a 4-stroke engine. As we all know, it had engine issues in its early life, to the point of having senators crying about it. Good old Golden Gay time, very Australian snack. Is it an original Golden Gay time, or is it one of those new weirdo ones with all the different flavours? The only good flavour that they've had is the, what's it called, the Rainbow Unicorn one? Not because of the flavours any good, but because of the name, like Rainbow Unicorn. This one, I believe, I'm not sure. Some of them do have Rotaxes nowadays. Not the original ones. The original ones had their own, like, Jabiru engine that was designed by Jabiru itself in Queensland. But yeah, some of the new ones have a Rotax engine now. Didn't Pauline Hanson get a jab? Yeah, you might be right about that. I hope they don't make cones. Nah. In fact, I think I've seen cones now, and also seen those like little ice cream sandwiches made by Golden Gay Time. These are abhorrent and should never be entertained. Golden Gay Time is on a stick. It should always be on a stick, and it should never be off a stick. So heading 165. I keep on drifting both left and right. Hopefully the left and right have cancelled each other out. Looking for the Tanami track, can't see it. It should be there now. Compared to a direct course, where should we be? I think I've drifted off to the... Wind's coming from that direction, so I've got to drift that way. Random fold in the ground. Should have been off that side, I think. the GPS is pretty well useless. Doesn't give you much at all. It's Balgo Hill. Right, what's the next waypoint? Okay, let's make contact with that one. Road turns right. That doesn't help because you can see the road. It's 12 minutes out, 16, 11. .23. Alright, we'll keep on heading down to 23, the road should turn right. Should be there. Alright, cool. And then the crater should be 10 minutes out from that, so 23. What's after that? 7. 30. Half past 8 we should be at the crater. And if we miss the crater, there's a river south of there, Stewart Creek. And that should be obvious 7 minutes after. It's 37. So, heading 173. Track should be 178. Alright, move that. Clearly been a little bit too far out this way, so 178. Come on, track. Seeing little dry lake beds that look like tracks. river rather than lake, river. Okay, speed 109. Should be doing 105, so a little bit quicker than expected, perhaps. Let's drop a minute. Hi there, Curve Aviator. Cool. Both of them have some merit. GA is a bit different to RA. RA has got a lot more interaction with air traffic control, let's put it that way, which has a certain interest of its own. This flight should be 65 minutes, and we took off at time 55. We actually took off at time 52, but then we double back on ourselves and flew over the airfield. So we flew over the airfield at time 55, and we expect 68 minutes of airtime. Time is 20. I think I've got Tsunami Track. It's the only road here. And that was it turning right. Okay, so where did it come from? That's the road though. It's a heading. Okay, I know where that is. Cool. Time 20. 23. We're 3 minutes early. Interesting. Is that right? 23. We are. Road turned right, and we're 3 minutes early. Or we're meant to be over there a lot. Let's hold the road a bit. There's not much out here to see. I think we're meant to be over there. Interesting. We're within QB of distance of it. 2 minutes early. 2 minutes early. I'm glad we spotted the road. I was feeling excessively lost for a while there. But there's the road, tracking down south into the far distance. It's really hard to spot a dirt road on dirt. We'll keep tracking. What was our track from the turn right? It was going to be 173, 178. Yeah, we're going to be a fair bit off to the right. Keep it going. Ben Payne, bridge orbits going up the coast. Are you talking about the Sydney Harbour Bridge coming out of Wollongong up to Victor 1, entering at Long Reef? Is that what we found? $178. keep on plugging along. Time 30, we should start to see a crater somewhere up ahead. I think we see a crater somewhere up ahead. I think we've spotted our crater. As I said, we're about 3 minutes early, so we're going quicker than we expected. Might back off on the power there. In fact, we're definitely going to back off on the power there because we want to do some orbits of the crater. What was the minimum? I come out of Warnervale. That's a nice little airport. I've only flown over it before, never been there. Been there in the sim, but not, you know, real life. 2600 is the minimum fuel. Minimum cruise should give us 100 knots. Currently we have a calibrated speed of 102. There's 2600 there. Need to retrim for that. It's getting a bit nose heavy at the slower speed. Yep, we've got the crater in sight. Time 24, we should arrive there at 4 minutes, something like that. Do a couple of orbits around, maybe both directions, maybe 2 each. Say 15 minutes, so 45 we should get going again. The Tanami track's quite a fair way off to the west from here, but there is a little road that cuts in, and there's a tiny little caravan park right there, and that is a unpaid, it's a free caravan park. You're allowed to camp there pretty much as long as you want, except there's only a toilet, which is I think it's a septic tank toilet. It gets emptied once every couple of weeks or whatever. There's no electricity at the track, there's no running water at the track, at the caravan park, I mean. And I think there's only parking for something like 8, maybe 10 caravans. As I said, we'll slow her down so we can spend more time over the top. I planned for 15 minutes in the flight plan. Shall we descend or stay up here? Because we're down at about 4,005 at the moment. Has anyone ever walked coast to coast to Australia through the middle? Yes. Someone called Burke and Wills. Look them up. They went one way anyway. They went all the way to the top from Melbourne, all the way up to the other coast near Port Essington. And then they started walking back and they got all the way back to Tennant Creek, whereupon they died. But yeah, Burke and Wills did it in the 1800s. So here we see some sand dunes, and there's our impact crater, Wolf Creek. Large meteor hit the Earth about 100,000 years ago to make that big hole. Slapped straight into Australia. Second largest intact impact crater on Earth. There's our caravan site that I was talking about. You can park there for free, for as long as you want. Just don't expect any running water.
That's one big crater.
Sure is. The FTX version 2 gives that a little bit more relief. In version 1 it was pretty flat, but it was actually still drawn on. You could see the actual hill. But yeah, this is version 2, so there's a little bit of relief in that hill. Not as much as I expected, to be honest, but you can still see it's a crater. Might side slip a bit to get our wing out of the way, so flying sideways slightly with some rudder. Slipping away. Is that a slip or a skid? Time is 3:0. I have not flown the PC-12. Sounds like a good aircraft, actually. Could use it on our fast leg. But we've already decided on the Lancer Legacy, so we'll stick with it. No, they didn't do nuclear testing here. They did it in South Australia, near oh, what's that place called? Starts with a W. Woomera. Yeah, they did the nuclear testing at Woomera, which is a different state. Same looking kind of place, but this isn't a nuclear crater, this is a natural event. Meteor fell out of space about 100,000 years ago. Yeah, you can look up the words Woomera Testing Range and I think the Gun Barrel Highway are the two things associated with the British nuclear tests of South Australia. They did remove several Aborigine towns groups out of that area as well. Some of them possibly not far enough. Yeah, the nuclear test happened kind of in the border between, well, mostly in South Australia, but it's in that part of South Australia far to the west, where everything's a desert. winding our way down to 3,500. So yeah, that's quite an impressive bit of scenery, and the unfortunate thing about this bit of scenery is it's so far away from anything. It's actually a massive trek to get out here, and there's nothing happening. We're going to go to one of the nearest Aborigine towns. There is a small ranch just before that called Stewart Creek. It also has a rather very tiny dirt strip to land on. But Balgo Hill is probably the biggest thing in this direction after leaving Halls Creek. I'd say my next vatsim event will be, well, another tour. We'll be doing Friday, going all the way down into the mining sites of Western Australia from Balgo Hill in the fastest, smallest aeroplane that I can find, which will be the Lancer Legacy. We'll be doing about 220 knots for about 3 hours. That's actually going to be a boring flight. I'm not going to enjoy it at all. No good scenery like this. I think we'll call that a day. We might do one circle on the other direction, just to even up the spiral, and we'll climb while we do it. Traffic all complete. Credit Jabiru 4754 is reversing direction of our turns, and we'll be climbing up to 5,500. How's that for some engine running numbers? 3,100 RPM. None of these numbers make sense, Jabiru. Yes, I do remember doing this crater in May 2017. Good old Indian November. And I believe Stefan Drury did the crater as well in whichever Kilo November. I think it was. July November Kilo? November July Kilo? Whichever the last one was before he moved into the current aircraft. Yep, I'm using the vPilot. Okay, we'll stick ourselves out there. We've got a time 37 over the crater. So it's 37 there. It'll be 44 by the time we get to Stewart Creek. Let's get ourselves headed the right way. No, the crater hasn't changed all that much. Good to see. Kilo Juliet November, thanks for that. Stefan's getting interviewed on the 11th of May. Oh, that's good. Is there anywhere live that I can get him? Yes, I know the plane that I fly. Juliet November. It's a 172. Kilo Juliet November is his. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just saying that it sounds like it's the same as the call sign I've flown in the 172. Just backwards, upside down, back to front, that kind of thing. Kilo Juliet November. There's a Juliet Kilo November. JKN is a cool call sign because it reminds me of Jokin. JKN, Jokin. There's Stewart Creek. That creek's actually got some water in it. Look at that. So the Stewart Creek Station. There's one in South Australia as well. We're certainly not there. Yeah, keep looking for Stewart Creek, Western Australia. There's not much out here. The only thing that I can find on Google is basically pictures of other people's road trips. I've driven four-wheel drives out to Stewart Creek and, of course, that crater back there, which is the reason that you come out here. There's no other reason to come out to this part of the world other than to see that massive impact crater. You go, oh, there's a massive impact crater. And then, I don't know, leave. I'll get you an ETA in a little bit while we get past Stewart Creek, but I have to follow this stuff first. So from Stewart Creek, current time, I call it, what, 42, 43, something like that. Let's settle into our actual speed first, because we were speeding there. Okay, plus 14. Plus 13. time 10. So whatever your time currently is at something past 42 minutes past whatever hour it is, it'll be 10 minutes past the hour after that. So I'm currently seeing a modified UTC time of 8:42. We're at 5,000 feet, near the climb again. 43 now. There's Stewart Creek, that was time 43. What time do you expect it to be at? 44, so we're about 1 minute early. One minute's good enough. Soil Inspector suggests you try to look at the word Wolf Creek, W-O-L-F, and just see what that's all about. You may find a movie there about committing some crimes. A fictional account of something that may have happened in New South Wales. I'm going straight through the Balgo. There's nothing really to do at Stewart. Is that the field there? I think that's the airfield at Stewart Creek. Stewart Creek Station's airfield. It is basically that. Nothing there. Much like everything else out here. Nothing there. I did once have a detention at school for talking in class. I was the quietest kid in school. When I showed up to detention with my thing that said that I was talking in class, the teacher, who was a friend of a friend, basically said, I would have given you a reward for talking in class, go home. And that was my detention. Actually, I did do one more detention before that, which was for not doing my homework on time, which is apparently a thing. I did it with my best friend though. Me and my best friend did detention together. We had to stay back for an hour and do random chores. I think it's more than an hour. I think it's like an hour and a half. And because the way that transportation worked back then, I couldn't actually get back home that day, so I went home with my friend and slept over for the weekend. And that was my detention. I was a very shy boy in school. Didn't get along very well with most of the peers. Had a small clique of about 3 friends, maybe 4. Depending on what you define friend as. There's like a little detachment from the geek group. There was the geek group, which is, kind of 15 kids or so. And then my detachment was like 3, 4, sometimes 5. The weirdest thing is I wasn't even talking in class during that for that detention. I was not even talking in class. I had my back to the teacher. She assumed that I was talking because she said she could hear someone talking and she couldn't see my mouth because I wasn't facing her. Therefore, I must have been talking. And from that day forth, I never said another word in the class ever again. And then I think a year or so later, she wanted us to go on a school excursion, which happened to clash with a music, like a big concert that they were having at school. And so I basically pitted one teacher against the other. And showed her, I think, too. It's like, I am the trumpet player, and I am not going to go to your stupid excursion during the concert. He's like, you have to. It's like, yeah, no, I don't. Is your excursion free? No. Well, I'm not going, am I? My parents don't want me to go, I don't want to go, and the music teacher doesn't want me to go. And I'm going to make the principal of the school agree with me. So we did. Yeah, that's pretty much how it went down. Someone's talking in class, it must be the quiet kid who never says anything. Anyway, I literally didn't do that detention. The detention teacher was my friend's uncle, literally direct family member of my best friend at the time. I was like, "Huh, you're doing here? What are you doing here?" I was talking in class there. Really, I would have given you a medal. Well, go home. What was the time for our 44? We didn't work it out, did we? It's 70. I need to minus 14 from that. 56 for the next one. Didn't fill it out, but I worked it out backwards. There we go. 56. So at time 56 we should see the Tanami track head off across right to left. Tanami track ends up going all the way out to Alice Springs also. I think it's no, it goes up to Tanami track. Where is it? From the Wolf Creek, does it go to Kutsajara, doesn't it? Tanami track. Yeah, shortcut from Alice Springs through to the Wolf Creek crater via Ayers Rock. Oh, that's too good. So the Tanami track from Halls Creek all the way through to Alice Springs. And off from the Tanami track is a piece of road, not really road, a piece of land clearance called the Canning Stock Route. Now the Canning Stock Route is well known as the most remote road in Australia. Part of it is mostly dirt road. Along the road is a set of wells, as in water wells, cut down into the table, the water table. And basically each of these wells are spaced out, I think it's about 100 miles each. The idea is that the stock drovers driving cattle would move cows essentially from the plainlands around Perth up to the Kimberley region to be slaughtered for meat. And they'd eventually make their way all the way up to Wyndham, which we were at a couple of weeks ago. You may remember Wyndham. And up in Wyndham, they'd slaughter them at the Wyndham slaughterhouse and ship them off to Asia and stuff as beef products. But all of those cattle were grazed in the area around Perth. So they'd have to make the massive trek from Perth on hoof and foot all the way up from Perth to Wyndham via this Canning Stock Route. Canning Stock Route is, how long is it? 1,850 kilometres. It is the longest historic stock route in the world. So that's 1,850 kilometres from end to end, no fuel, not a single town on that entire route. There's no fuel trucks or anything. Basically, if you want to drive through this Canning Stock Route on a four-wheel drive, you are going to have to plan your fuel. You may even need to do fuel drops with like aircraft landing fuel into the area. There are a couple of airfields, if you can call them that, along the route. Each well site, I think it's one or two of the well sites have a landing strip next to them. Basically, a piece of dirt with a wind sock next to them. maybe even minus the windstock. But yeah, Canning stock route starts at the tsunami track as it passes us. Now we're going to get there at time 56, current time is 52, we'll be there in 5 minutes. Time 53, we said 56 didn't we? And the next one will be 10 past the hour. So I'll make a call on the hour to Balgo Hill to tell them that we're coming in 10 minutes. I'm not sure if it'll spot the track, but it should be passing straight across the front of us, almost diagonally, almost, yeah, 90 degrees straight on. Get back up to 5,500 where we should be, about 30 miles out. This thing estimates 14 minutes to get to Balgo Hill. I concur pretty much. 14 minutes is in... yeah, it's 10 past the hour. It's 9 past the hour, but we are going to slow down for the descent, so there is that. I went to a private school. I went to private Christian Baptist school. I in fact went to the same the same private school that the current Prime Minister of Australia sends his children to. So that's a little bit of fun. I might be rich. I'm probably not really rich. I got a full school scholarship to that school, music scholarship. So if I had to pay my way through there, I wouldn't have been there. So yeah, my old school, high school, now has little whatever their name is, Morrison, hanging around there. JB Aviation asking if I'm a real pilot. Well, I did have a PPL some 15 years ago that I haven't used almost since. Yeah, sure, I'm a real pilot. Yes, I wrote many essay at school. In fact, I was so good at writing stuff at school, not necessarily essays, but I was put into the gifted and talented English program until I got bored of it and left. But yeah, I was doing lots of essay writing. That was in the bad old days when you used to write essays by hand. And time is 56. What road is that? That would be the tsunami track. What time did we say we're getting crossing there? Did we 56? The current time is exactly 56. There's the track. My gosh, look at that. I love it when a plan comes together. I am just happy about the fact that I can see that road. That came together brilliantly. That was much better than I expected. I thought we were running 2 minutes early, but nope, we're right on time. We're right on time. Now you guys don't understand. What I've done is 2 days ago I put this plan together and I expected that we'd reach the tsunami track at time 56, and the time right now is 57, but at time 56 there's the tsunami track and we crossed it. Maths, it works. I'll have to do another one of them for the next trip. Although I don't know any of the locations to have for the next trip, but we'll see. We'll be flying with a massive, you know, GTN 750, so, and an autopilot. So all that kind of stuff is kind of a backup. It's kind of fun to see it come together when you go past the Tanami track at the exact minute that you planned yesterday. Most of my kids were pretty cool at school, you know, the nice people. There are a few weirdos, and they were the ones that didn't come to the school reunion. But yeah, I went to my 20-year school reunion. My golly, it's been 20 years since I've been at school. It's been 21 actually. But yeah, went to the 20-year school reunion last year. Or was it the year before that? Might have been the year before that. And yeah, it's a great time. Great time to meet the nicer people, you know. Not the bullies. The bullies, they've disappeared on us. They don't care. They never did. We have a 10-minute outbound. Current time is 59. We're going to give him a call at Balgo Hill. Balgo Hill, CTAF 126.7. Wind is from the east, and we're going to be landing on runway 15. By the looks of it, yeah, runway 15. Traffic Balgo Hill, Jabiru 4754 is 5,500. Currently situated 10 minutes out from Balgo Hill at 20 miles. We'll be joining circuit for runway 15. Estimate circuit at time 10. Traffic, Balgo Hill. When I say 5,500, we better do that, eh? And we should be on QNH 1013 now. There we are.
Traffic Balgo Hill. Cessna Bravo Zulu Alpha is also 20 nautical miles out. We'll make traffic for runway 15. Traffic Balgo Hill.
Yeah, which road is that one? Oh yeah, I see it on the map. I don't know if it has a name. Might be called Balgo Hill Road, who knows. Didn't really expect to see that one because it's dirt on dirt, but yeah, it's pretty visible. I think we'll do a full dead side circuit, the whole circuit, just because we kind of arrive into the final. That's just not a cool idea. So we'll pop over to the side of the final onto the dead side and then do the full circuit. Was that you on the radio call? It sounded fine. I think I have Balgo Hill in sight. Not 100%, but I'm pretty sure it's where it should be. right on the horizon. About 14 miles out according to the GPS. Yep, that's definitely the town site, and the runway's there. Runway in sight. Down we go. Yes, I'm definitely a different generation to you. If I'd bothered to, you know, pursue a life with a woman, I would probably have a kid about your age. That's a scary idea. Actually, most of the people from my school that have kids now, they're like between 5 years old. Actually, yeah, one of my friends is got a 2-year-old now. Or one or two, halfway through his second year. Turned 1 in January, so we're 4 months into his first year. So yeah, I'm not that far into the generation, but yeah, you're what, 15, 16, whatever. That's a little young to be having kids if I had have spawned a kid. No, a kid of my age. Like, at my age, I probably would have had a kid by now if I had have wanted that. Most of the people that I know have had kids for not quite a decade. So a little bit younger than you, but not much. St. Bart's landing challenge. Sounds boring. Look at those wonderful sand dunes. Those are massive, massive sand dunes. Traffic Balgo Hill, Jabiru 4754 at 10 miles north of the field, passing through 4,000 feet. We'll be joining dead side for runway 0, so again, runway 15, and then making a full circuit onto runway 15, Balgo Hill. And Balgo Hill traffic, estimate circuit time 10. Coming out a little bit too wide, I think. Might tighten it up a bit more. Minecraft is like crappy computer Lego. I must admit that I did play a lot of Lego when I was a kid, but you know. Runway still in sight. We're pretty much positioned right on the final. I need to drift off a little bit further to the south of the runway, so I'll do that. If it's 9 PM, maybe it's too late to have a shower and you should start again tomorrow at 9 AM. I certainly enjoy my showers in the morning. I see some people enjoy their night showers. I don't really get it myself, unless you work outside or something like that. And you actually need to clean yourself. Problem is, if I wake up in the morning and don't have a shower, then my hair is just literally doing the whole Polynesian thing. I have my Polynesian blood and it's all in my hair. Leisure Suit Larry, I remember that. Carmen San Diego wasn't too bad. Playing Carmen San Diego to learn geography. Yeah, kind of. But you didn't learn about Wolf Creek Crater, so not good enough.
Traffic Balgo Hill, Takeoff Broome, your last is 8 nautical miles to the northwest. We'll be joining dead side for run and join the circuit runway 15, estimated circuit time 11. Traffic Balgo Hill.
So circuit height is 2,400. So 1,500 above, 500 above circuit height will be 2,900. Traffic Balgo Hill, Jabiru 4754 is 1 mile to the dead side of the circuit. We'll be joining runway 15 from the full overhead. Time 10 right now. It's actually 09. Descent plan is always important, regardless of if you're flying a Boeing 737 or this thing. The best way to learn geography is to put it into practice, and to put it in practice, vatsim is a really good idea. But you have to really know where you're going. None of us kind of like, I just plugged in some flight plan off sim routes, and we think it'll take us to a place called Yankee Bravo Bravo November, whatever that is. I don't know what that is. That's not how you learn geography. Yeah, we're going to Brisbane, and Brisbane is 850 kilometres north of Sydney. Brisbane was first spotted by Captain James Cook, who named Moreton Bay after the Moreton Bay fig, and after the whoever it was, Moreton, on board the Endeavour. When they went north of there, they found the Great Barrier Reef, where they partly crashed the ship and ended up having to beach it near Cooktown, which is north of Cairns. The distance between Cairns and Brisbane is even further than the distance between Sydney and Brisbane. All of those kinds of things, you know. Let's make our initial move. Let's make sure before we make that turn that we're not meant to be doing right-hand circuits, because that's going to take us right over the town. Aerodrome, circuits, more than 10, nope, up there about, so cool. Traffic Balgo Hill, Jabiru 4754, turning crosswind, runway 15. Hello, Macalmuffin. You've missed us using this wonderful little logbook to get predictions within a minute of when we're crossing specific roads, which is pretty awesome. And we'll descend into the 2,400. We'll just pass the town site so we don't fly directly over it. And we'll start the turn. Traffic Balgo Hill, Jabiru 4754, turning downwind, runway 15, 2,400. I forgot Balgo had that extra runway. They closed that runway, so it's not an operational runway anymore, but part of it's still there. Okay, just about to go base. All about that base. Traffic Balgo Hill, Jabiru 4754, turning base, runway 15.
Runway 15, full stop, Balgo Hill.
Ah. Both transmitted at the same time. Flaps coming. Traffic Balgo Hill, Jabiru 4754, turning final, runway 15. All the flap. Trim. Welcome to stay there at about 65 for a bit. 63 is the perfect glide speed and 60 is about landing speed. And during the flow can drop it down to about 50. I'm seeing some weird effects happening on the field. And is that a hole in the front? I think it is a hole. Might go for the other side of the runway so I don't fall into the hole.
Traffic Balgo Hill, Bravo Zulu Alpha is on base, runway 15, full stop, Balgo Hill.
Clearly I have to fix the scenery before we come back here again. I'll try and do that tomorrow.
Nice landing, Trent.
Thanks. Nice hole as well. I think the airport's at a different level to the FTX scenery. So we're going to have to drop the airport level and possibly AD editor or something.
Bravo Zulu Alpha is final, runway 15, full stop, Balgo Hill.
Yeah, does this place really have fuel? Not sure it does. No, it doesn't. No, it certainly doesn't. Cool. Fair enough. Engine shutdown. Cool. Here we go. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and shut the old airplane down, push it over there next to the fence, and head over into this little place. And at some point, hopefully today, tomorrow, something like that, we'll be fixing up the scenery so it doesn't have a massive hole in the runway. That was fun. You've got a big hat, don't you? Look at that. Let's not talk about beer, because I think this is dry town was not allowed to have beer. Anyway. Speaking of beer, I think this guy's had too many. Come on, stay straight. Get back to the plane. And I'll shut the airplane. Cool, so that's a Jabiru. I hope you enjoyed that little stream. It's about 9:20, which means I've got an hour to get myself a pizza, as previously discussed. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do the pizza, come back, do work, and sometime tomorrow afternoon I'm going to be fixing the elevation of this airport so it matches all of the scenery around it, which is clearly not the case here. Because we are currently showing 1,443 feet, and I reckon there's a good 40-foot drop down to the zero. Right about there. So yeah, I think I know how to do that in the ADE editor. I just need to move the altitude of the entire airfield down 40 feet. Interesting. Cool. Anyway, I have enjoyed flying with a Jabiru and one of these little navigation logs. I think that's the first time I've done one because, you know, featureless terrain out here and we didn't have a proper GPS. So, yeah, it was quite a good feeling when we came across that wonderful road and saw it on the tsunami track. Next up is a massive flight going from Balgo Hill to, where are we going? Gin something. It's called Jimbanta. I'll look it up because I've forgotten where we're going. But it's a very long flight. We'll probably be flying it in the Lancer Legacy, which is a piston single engined aircraft with 2 seats on it, and it'll be capable of flying at about 220 knots, which is what we need for a trip which is 468 nautical miles right there. And we're going over to Ginbanta. And I'm going to have to study what is between Ginbanta and Balgo Hill, because on this map there's not much. There's a couple of lakes here and there, a couple of hills, and at some point there's this tiny airfield at Telfa. But yeah, I'll take a look into that over the next day or two. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for the suggestions about the pizza. I've been Musical Aviator. See you guys next time. Bye for now.